Hello, my name's Michael Conneely and I'm speaking to you from the healing centre I run with Maggie Pashley in the far west of Ireland, and near us is this beautiful Loch Gill, site of many of the most beautiful of W.B. Yeats' poems. And basically this is part 2 of the introduction to my Lords of Karma series. So the Lords of Karma series has a video on each of the 13 planets of Vedic and Western astrology in terms of their manifestation as Lords of Karma, bringing us our karmas to be dealt with, whether difficult, challenging karmas or benign, benefic karmas. And this is part 2 of the introduction. There are 3 parts to the introduction. So in the first part, I introduced the idea of how planets are actually maps of and deliverers of our individual karma. And I mentioned in part 1 how my astrology is always linked to healing and empowerment, not to fated gabbled declaration. And so in this part 2 of the introduction, I want to give you a background statement of the healing methods Maggie and I use. And then you can go on to part 3 of the introduction, which looks at the astrology techniques I use in my astrology readings and astrology courses to define how the planets manifest in your life through your birth chart and in your life through your predictive astrology. But this part 2 of the introduction is all about healing. So, I think I'll mention my healing modalities first, which are much briefer than Maggie's. So the first one I'd mention is inner child work. And the whole point is we are obviously carrying within us our childhood experiences. And sometimes these might be quite painful and therefore cut off. And yet that inner child is still very much there. Maybe hurt, maybe angry, directing what we do and how we deem ourselves to be. So basically, my inner child work consists of me sending you questionnaires relating to your developments and experiences through your different age ranges. And you answer and review these, leading to your realization of what your key attitudes are and how and when they arose. And of course we work out what you need to do with them. And of course there's cross-referencing to your astrology. And so you're offered like a healing culmination in terms of key transformative statements. And you can see the details of inner child work on my Star Wheel Astrology website. It can either be enrolled for as a standalone module or at a much cheaper price as an add-on to my astrology readings and astrology courses. Okay, the second healing I do is family constellation work. This is actually tremendously valuable too. So basically you visualize your family members raising what's been forgotten, what's been repressed, what's been rewritten. You take, as it were, a guided tour to meet your family members of different generations. And indeed, you might position them on what might be called the landscape you're situated on. And so you work out so much of what their gifts are to you, positive or negative, and how you can use those gifts. You work out the effects of having them in your hereditary bloodline or adoptive bloodline. And it culminates again in mapping those realizations clearly, assessing their impact on you, and then taking your place in your family and in the world. And again, there's more detail of this on my Star Wheel Astrology website. So the next I'd mention is the Shamanic Journey. Now these are immensely valuable in themselves. It's about learning how to journey to trance drumming. And it underpins so many shamanic and healing methods. So it's a very valuable foundation skill to have. And I've got a whole shamanic healer web page. And I'll give the address of that in the blog associated with this video. And next we come to soul retrieval. Now soul retrieval is a technique using shamanic journey. It is so valuable. So basically the theory is that as we grow up, we experience trauma situations, and perhaps we were very young when we experienced a situation, and we had no way of evaluating it. We might be cut off from our feelings. Maybe we were never allowed to know what our feelings were by our family. And so the hurt you, aged 8, or Michael, aged 11, or whatever it is, gets split off. But that split off you is immensely powerful. It can actually dictate how you react to situations and relationships. And so basically soul retrieval, you meet the split off part, you befriend the split off part, and you reintegrate the split off parts. And so the next method I'd mention is astrological psychosynthesis work. Well, this is very much based on the work of Asaglione and astrology. So basically I look at your astrology chart and we seek to make clear and identify different sub-personalities defined by the chart. So for example, you might have Mars square Saturn, which gives you endless hard work, work, endlessly, because a square endlessly manifests. But that might actually be cutting off from the rest of your chart a beautiful, idealistic Venus-Neptune sub-personality. Venus-Neptune, who yearns for the ideal world, the visionary dreamer. And they're completely different. And if the big square cuts your Venus-Neptune sub-personality off, because it's sort of on the rim of the chart, outside the square, then you could lose out. And so astrological psychosynthesis would have you meeting one, meeting the other, getting them to talk to each other, so that you can see when one is being denied by the other, and work with that and heal it. Yes, there's 2 more for myself. Wonderful past life regression. This comes in 2 levels. Either I send you an audio module, or we do a live connection using Zoom. And so basically there's 2 prices as well. There's one price if you're not having a reading or course with me, and another price if you are. So basically you listen to the audio or to me doing drumming, and you journey back to a past life. And I have found great value from past life regression it teaches us so much of the beings that are part of us, that are still within us, but we've experienced before. And maybe we incarnated this time to complete the work of those past life versions of us. Or maybe to learn from what, sadly, those past life versions of us did unwisely and badly and wrongly. We learn what magnificent paradigms of strength or artistic creation we might have been in past life. And so that can be such an inspiration for us, such a specific inspiration for us to build on and manifest further in this life and complete what they strove for in our past life. And my final one is a What Story Are You Living module. So working with your vision journeys, worksheets and cross-referencing to your astrology, we work out how to seek and heal and empower around the stories you're living. And those stories I relate to archetypes, like the innocent, the orphan, the warrior, the ruler, the magician, the sage, the lover. And so we get a much rich picture of the stories we're living out, a much better idea how to perceive those and, for example, spot if they're manifesting dysfunctionally in our life, and in which case heal them, or spot if they are pushed aside in our life and we need to manifest that story more strongly. So now I come to Healings with Maggie Pashley, and remember what the whole basis of the Lords of Karma series is, that the planets do depict our karmas, and we're actually born to heal negative karmas and of course maximize the expression of benefic karmas within our life, the special sparks of success that we incarnated to hopefully achieve in this life. So again, there'll be an individual presentation on each of Maggie's healings, in addition to the 13 planet videos, each planet as Lord of Karma. So the first one is a wonderful one called Heart Wall Clearing. And all of these can be, except for one, can be done distance, by the way. So you don't have to come to the beautiful west of Ireland. They're all available worldwide. But heart wall clearing is a fantastic way of releasing blocks to giving and receiving love. So this can be done by distance sessions wherever you are in the world, and it makes use of muscle testing to identify trapped emotions caused by rejection, hurt, disappointment and trauma, and clear these energetically. It genuinely is a wonderful technique. You could be blocked to love. You could have a heart wall. So the second of Maggie's healing modalities is resonating relationships. Resonating relationships identifies negative beliefs we may have about relationships, modes of operating which block connection, nurturing and harmony in a relationship. And then those blocks are cleared using body code, which I'll be mentioning in a moment. Thirdly, there is emotion code. So emotion code was developed by American chiropractor Bradley Nelson. And this uses muscle testing to uncover underlying trapped emotions. And they're holding us back, but they can be released energetically. And then there's body code. Body code is based on use of muscle testing to, it's much bigger than emotion code. So it uncovers imbalances in emotions, nutrition and lifestyle, misalignments, toxins, external interferences and pathogens. A very spectacular identification of blocks which we have held in our body, which can really, really, really cause damage in our life, and then energetically clearing them. The next is a symphony of possibilities. So in a symphony of possibilities session, you're asked, if you could get anything you wished out of a session, what would it be? And then Maggie uses verbal processing or clearing questions and energetic healing to bring you into alignment with the desired outcome. So I'm just turning the page here. Then there's access bars. So this is the only one that can't be done distance, so you'll have to come here and look how lovely it is. I don't know if you can see from the narrow camera shot. So this is a gentle hands-on process involving touching 32 points on the head to clear out old beliefs, programming, fixed positions that are keeping you stuck. So it's like defragging a computer and pressing the delete button on old files. Go for it. And then a development of that, access body processes, which can be done distance. And so this is dialoguing with the body to find out which of 50 treatment options is currently required to become freer and more empowered. And it is surprising what can be healed using access body processes, most definitely. And then breakthrough sessions. These are designed to help you go beyond areas of stuckness in your life, using a combination of many powerful energetic healing techniques that Maggie is trained in. And then there's hypnotherapy, which allows deep inner focus to access your unconscious mind, enabling transformation, great for fears, phobias, clearing old limiting habits, and developing greater confidence and self-esteem. Would you believe it? There are actually even more. Emotional freedom technique, or EFT. So this is a wonderful technique which you can learn to do on yourself, tapping on meridian energy points on the face and hands and body to rebalance your body energies. It really does release stress and cure held negative behaviours, fears and phobias, pain and tension. It clears unwanted habits and behaviours, enabling you to free up and create more beautiful and empowering ones. There's metamorphic touch, which involves gentle touch on the feet and hands and head to create an open space for you to connect with your inner wisdom, who you were meant to be, the unique gifts and strengths. And lastly, in Maggie's healings, body work. So again, oh yes, this is the second one. You'd need to actually meet Maggie face to face. And she uses wonderful combinations of massage, shiatsu, reflexology to help you feel de-stressed, invigorated and restored. So, I've mentioned some of the healings that Maggie and I do to underpin our my astrology readings and my astrology courses. But there are two more healings that I need to mention. Well, the first is myth and archetypes. Most definitely, the myth surrounding the planets creates invaluable perception for you to understand them and for you to understand their energy in your birth chart or in your predictive astrology. For example, I have literally got Mars conjunct my Sun at the moment and Uranus opposite my Sun. So Mars and Uranus are opposite in the heavens. And I can feel that. I feel it as, sort of quite driven energy. So it's quite useful perception to sort of know where the planets are predictively. And then we don't become the sort of passive victim of, well, I wonder why I'm feeling this. And, what's it all amount to? The myth can actually tell you what is the nature of Uranus, what's the nature of Mars, what's it positive for, and what's it actually catastrophic for. So, you really do learn the myths of each of the 13 planets in my Lord of Karma series. And lastly, it's the archetypes. So each of the planets is also an archetype. And archetypes are huge, dramatic and clear messages to our minds, emotions, soul and intentions. And so we can work with the archetypes if a planet is fallen in our chart and weak or cut off. Or we can work with the archetype if conversely the planet is overstrong and malefic in our chart. So the purpose of this introduction part 2 was really to talk about ways of healing methods essentially, but also archetypes and myths. Now please go on to introduction part 3, which describes the magnificent astrology techniques I use: Western astrology and Vedic astrology, natal astrology and predictive astrology. So please go on to introduction part 3, and when you've seen those 3 parts, I feel the 13 planet videos, each planet as a lord of karma, will mean more to you. And remember that there's quite a few other underpinning videos talking in detail about healing methods and astrological techniques. So, great to be working with you. Hope to hear from you for a reading or a course. Thank you.